Hello, everyone. Hello again. I would, I was thinking to say second live stream for a day uh, because of because number of members of our community did ask me about it. But in reality, this is the first live stream for 3rd of January because it's midnight here in Russia. It's already 3rd of January, and hopefully this timing will be more convenient for members of our community in the Western Hemisphere, in North America. We will find out. We will find out, or if it will work. I'm gonna try to do this second or first live streams at midnight from Monday to Thursday at least, right? And if results are good, if results are positive, then I will try my best to maintain this type of schedule. When in the first half of a day there is a one live stream, and in the second half of the day there is another one. So this way I will manage hopefully to reach more members of our community during the live stream itself. So that's been said, dear friends. A lot of news really that we can go through, and without any further delay, let's start our stream. And for example, in case you have not watched today's first live stream, I can give you this report that last night Russian air defense systems on duty intercepted 31 drones that was launched by Kyiv regime with assistance of NATO to strike deep into Russian territory. As usually it is the case, main direction of these attacks was the southern, central, and the southern regions of the Russian Federation. And at this particular point, as we are here on this stream, Russian air defense systems are working again and intercepting another wave of Kyiv regime's and NATO drones that are flying towards Russia. For tomorrow morning, of course, we will have update how many drones will be intercepted by Russian air defense systems this night. I'm afraid number is going to be in dozens at least. Also, dear friends, during the day, Kyiv regime was, with assistance of NATO, were launching another waves of attacks. And from 11, what I find on internet is that from 11 a.m. to 1500 hours, 3 p.m., air defense systems intercepted another 15 drones that were launched by Kyiv regime. Yet again, main direction was central and southern regions of the Russian Federation. 12 drones were intercepted in the Belgorod region, 3 drones in the Kursk region, and 2 drones on the Kursk region, and 1 drone in Bryansk region. Unfortunately, in past 24 hours, 3 civilians died as a result of these terrorist attacks that Kyiv regime is conducting against Russia. And number of civilians were wounded. Of course, Russian militaries are retaliating harder. And well, even though there was a energy truce for past week announced by Trump initially and then confirmed by press spokesman of the Russian president, Dmitry Peskov, that energy truce expired yesterday or day before yesterday now, on 1st of February. And this morning I already reported that a number of sources claim that the Russian militaries conducted a strike on energy infrastructure again. We don't really receive during the day official confirmation of this report, so therefore speculation continues on internet about this energy truce. Some sources saying that Russian militaries are holding fire against energy infrastructure. Other sources are saying that energy truce is finished now. Difficult to say. Obviously, maybe tomorrow Russian Defense Ministry itself will give us a little more clarity on the matter. But even though there was an energy ceasefire for a week, nevertheless, Kyiv regime is definitely facing energy collapse on a territory that Zelensky's regime is in control of. And for example, in capital of Ukraine, in Kiev, at least 1,000 buildings are still without heat, without electricity in many cases. And this topic was used by Zelensky to attack Mayor of Kiev, Klitschko, as I reported this morning. And as the situation for Kiev regime and its NATO backers deteriorates on daily basis in a fight in a regime there in Kiev is accelerating, and soon it might not take more than maybe even a couple of weeks, maybe months, but I think it is inevitable that at some point this internal confrontation of different clans in Ukraine will lead to armed fighting between different armed groups that are in support of this clan or that clan, right? So this attack of Zelensky on Klitschko definitely can be seen as an indicator of what is to come there in Ukraine. And also when it comes to Zelensky Klitschko infighter, I think it's worth noticing that Klitschko on several occasions called for civilians in Kiev to evacuate, at least for winter time. And Klitschko and his inner circle was very critical of Zelensky and his administration, his government, because seems like Zelensky is not really interested in evacuating anybody anywhere, right? And this is additional topic of confrontation now between the leadership of Kiev, capital of Ukraine, and the leadership of country or quasi-state itself, right? Yet again, more infight is on the horizon for sure. And as I already said, the reports were that Russian militaries conducted a strike on a substation in the Cherkasy region. And even though the defense ministry did not yet make it clear is energy ceasefire is holding or not, speculations already begun that when Russian troops resume attacks on energy, tomorrow morning we will learn more about it, of course, because I'm quite sure this night Russian militaries will launch long-range precise strikes on military and logistical infrastructure of the Kiev regime. And maybe among targets, we will see energy infrastructure too. It's a possibility. Although, by the way, we should keep in mind that these days there is actually tremendous frost here in Moscow, also in Kiev, by the way. Temperatures are below 20, minus 20 degrees Celsius, which is quite a lot. And maybe Russian political leadership will make decision on its own without even contacting Kiev regime or Kiev regime's backers, US, American side, for example. Maybe Russian leadership will make decision on its own to prolong energy ceasefire until this extremely frosty weather will pass. And that is at least another week, I guess. And then maybe we will see large-scale Russian strikes on energy infrastructure of the Kiev regime again. And this is obviously a forceful move on the Russian side, because we all understand that energy infrastructure plays a key role in weapons production, weapons manufacturing, munition manufacturing on a Kiev-controlled territory, for movements of their militaries, right, for redeployments of militaries through railways, for example. So therefore, Russian side don't really have much option but to take this key component of Kiev regime's military capabilities out of action, right? So I guess there is a probability, as I said, that energy ceasefire will hold for another maybe a week until there is this tremendous frost, and then we will see more strikes being conducted by Russian forces. Also, I want to share with you, dear friends, this information from Andrei Marochko. Yet again, in case you have not watched my today's first update, that in January, Kiev regime lost about 15,000 troops on the line of contact. Significant losses, obviously. Although usually this number is at least twice higher on daily basis. I mean, since I'm monitoring these reports from Defense Ministry, practically on daily basis, losses on the Kiev regime side is about 12, 1,500, quite often even higher than that. But in January, number dropped to 15,000, according to Marochko, which can be explained. Um, early January, by the way, was still somewhat a muddy season, right? And this muddy season, of course, had its played its role and slowed down activity or military activity on line of contact. Second half of January was more frosty, right? And at this point, ground is definitely more solid and allows rapid movement of manpower and military equipment. But nevertheless, these weather conditions, I think, did play a key role that minimized, one might say, casualty numbers on the Kiev regime side, although it's still tremendous level, isn't it? 15,000 killed and wounded just in 1 month in January. It's horrendous. RIA Novosti is also reporting that well, everybody is talking about today. By the way, I watched quite a number of other channels, right? I read quite a number of statements in different media, Russian and foreign, and well, many of them pay attention to article in independent British propaganda outlet, I believe, which was based on basically statements, interview with Nikolaev regional administration, head of Nikolaev regional military administration, Vitaly Kim, who said that Kiev should conclude a peace agreement with Russia as soon as possible. And I can give you a couple of quotes. Everyone is very tired there. So for Ukrainian people, I think victory lies only in ending the conflict. Kim also pointed out the impossibility of Ukraine reaching its 1991 borders. And well, as I said, many media outlets pay attention to these statements. Easy if Vitaly Kim is head of the regime or tremendously influential public figure, which is not the case, right? So therefore, I'm not quite sure the statement of Kiev regime's representative from Nikolaev region worth that much attention, because Zelensky not going to listen to Vitaly Kim, isn't it? Zelensky not going to listen to him, and definitely globalists and globalist controlled regimes in Europe not going to listen to Vitaly Kim, although Kim itself is on point there, isn't it? I'm quite sure vast majority of residents of Ukraine, citizens of Ukraine, would love to see end of hostilities. But unfortunately, end of this conflict is not even on the horizon, because globalists and globalist control regimes in Europe are making it quite clear on daily basis that they are not interested in ending of this conflict. They are interested in some temporary measures, ceasefire, for example, to rearm, reorganize their proxies in Ukraine, and then launch next phase of war. But they don't want to hear nothing about end of the conflict. They don't want to hear anything about root causes of this crisis to be addressed, right? They are all about prolongation of this proxy war that they are waging against Russia. So therefore, unfortunately, it is hardly possible that anytime soon Kiev will start talking with a similar language as regional head of Nikolaev is doing now. And by the way, maybe because of this quite a big attention towards the statements of the Kim, Vitaly Kim, maybe he will be replaced in next several days or several weeks, because from what I have read and listened about Zelensky, he is extremely jealous. He is an extremely jealous personality, and he hates when attention is focused on someone else but him. And with such a statements, Vitalik Kim definitely has a chance to gain even more attention of their media public, right? And I don't think here, Zelensky gonna like it. So let's watch. Let's watch. Maybe soon, Nikolaev region, which is still temporarily controlled by Kiev regime, gonna have a new head appointed by Kiev. Anyways, let's continue with some other news. And I already mentioned, dear friends, on numerous occasions that on 1st of February, there should be meeting second round of trilateral talks between U.S., Russian, and Kiev regime representatives. But these talks were postponed. And gonna take place now on 4th and 5th of February, tomorrow and the day after, if nothing happens, right, and it would not be postponed again. But special envoy of U.S. President Steve Witkoff would not participate in the second round of talks in Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates. Today, media reported otherwise. And for example, reporter of Axios and also some Israeli TV station, Barak Ravider, stated that U.S. Special Presidential Envoy for peacekeeping missions, Steve Witkoff, will participate in the talks with the Russian and Ukrainian delegations in the United Arab Emirates on February 4th and 5th. So, well, let's see what's going to happen. Possibly, U.S. side was not happy with the previous round of talks, and that's why these preliminary statements were made that neither Witkoff or anyone else gonna participate in it. But as you know, by the way, in past several days, special envoy of Russian President Dmitriev was in U.S. in Florida. He had some important meetings there with Steve Witkoff, with some other high-ranking officials, including Scott Bessent, by the way, Treasury Secretary. And who knows? Maybe this report now that Witkoff will participate in second round of talks is a result of negotiations between Dmitriev and American representatives. Who knows? Maybe there is some link there, maybe not. But yes, just information for better understanding of the situation. In any case, unfortunately, I'm still skeptical about these talks between Moscow and Washington. Unfortunately, I don't really see much indicators that these talks will lead to actual de-escalation and sustainable peace. I don't see this happening until Russia will force Western ruling class to submission. But nevertheless, talks are taking place, and obviously, we people that pay attention to global developments pay attention to this story too. Also, when it comes to all sorts of negotiations, their OSCE chairman and Swiss foreign minister Ignacio Cassis, and OSCE is an organization of security and cooperation in Europe. So this Ignacio Cassis stated that he would travel to Moscow after his visit to Kiev. He also expressed hope for a swift end to the conflict in Ukraine. I can give you a quote from him. We will also go to Moscow with the same message because Russia, Ukraine, and 55 other states are members of this organization, OSCE. If they take this organization seriously, we all need to find a solution very quickly And this is quite interesting because I have not heard from OSCE anything for years, by the way, for years. If anything, all this organization was busy with is to be hostile again towards Russia, and now activization of this leadership of this organization indicates to me that I guess European elites were unable to find any other ways to establish some level of communication with Russia and to make themselves relevant again in these talks around Ukraine. Because, as you know, at this point, European elites are absent from talks that are taking place, trilateral talks or other talks that are taking place now in Abu Dhabi, UAE, or earlier in Istanbul, right? And I guess European elites want to have a seat around table, and they are using again OSCE, but this time around to somehow sneak into these talks. In Russian media, I didn't see no reports about chairman of the OSCE visiting Russian Federation anytime soon, but well, maybe tomorrow we will learn some more about it. Let's see. And tomorrow, by the way, or that is today already. I'm forgetting that it's already 22 past 12 at night, so it's the 3rd of February, of course. And today, later on, head of NATO, Secretary General of NATO, Mark Rutte, will visit Kiev. He plans to make a speech in a state Rada. He also plans to have talks with Zelensky. And I guess we're going to hear yet another bunch of strong statements against Russia, yet another wave of Russophobia from Rutte and whomever going to be with him there. Okay, nothing extraordinary. Globalists, European elites, they want to make sure that before negotiations on 4th and 5th of February in Abu Dhabi, they will make it clear for the Kyiv regime where globalists are standing, right? And on what Kiev can agree and on what they should never, right? Yet another attempt, basically, on part of European elites to derail possible positive results during that trilateral talk, upcoming trilateral talks in United Arab Emirates. That's all it is, isn't it? That's all it is. Europeans decided to, send their head of NATO now to persuade Zelensky and their MPs there to continue sacrificing more and more people that are living there in Ukraine. And they're going to give them a lot of promises, right? A lot of promises. Meanwhile, if anybody thinks it's just the globalists that are extremely hostile towards Russia, and US under their Trump's administration is acting differently now and are more focused on peace, I would disappoint those people, because this is not really the truth. Maybe there is some tensions between European ruling class and American ruling class, but they are part of one gang, isn't it? We should never forget that both European ruling class and American ruling class is a part of one criminal organization that dreams about ruling the world. And inside this organization, there might be different groups, European ruling class, American ruling class, Zionists. All of them are part of this big criminal structure, right? And there are many objective reasons to think so. There is many reports, right, based on objective reality that confirms what I just said. And let me give you another one. Which is that US tested a missile intended for Kyiv regime. USA successfully, and I saw this report, by the way, on Kirill Fyodorov Vaina Istoria Оружия channel, one of the biggest Russian channels on Telegram, and they always provide a great deal of information about many things, and including this one. So the US successfully conducted a test of one of their missiles of their ERAM program, specifically their Rusty Dagger from their Zone 5 company. At their Eagle test range, their warhead of their small-scale missile was tested during their event, which allowed it to achieve all the main goals, including the complete detonation of the warhead. Important data was collected for the creation of a new cost-effective means, according to this company. And there are a number of other type of weapon systems, by the way, that are part of this ERAM program. And I remind you, dear friends, that Trump already authorized transfer of 3,000 cruise missiles under this program, ERAM program, to Kyiv regime. 3,000 cruise missiles. And some of those missiles, allegedly, according to reports, will have a range 500 kilometers plus. So you tell me if this step from Trump's administration is indicates that they are for peace and they want this war to end. Obviously not, isn't it? It is planned, according to reports, by the way, this first bunch of these newly developed missile systems will be delivered to Kyiv regime in October 2026, so still some time before this happens, although this date can be moved forward, right? This is approximate date when these weapon systems from ERAM program may end up being deployed against Russia. And based on reports, these cruise missiles will be adapted to be used by MiG-29s and F-16s that Kyiv regime is still operating with. Number of MiG-29s and F-16s in hands of Kyiv regime is unknown, but I guess we are talking about at least several dozen, and this number might actually increase because earlier there was reports that Poland is considering again to transfer to Kyiv regime all the remaining MiG-29s that they still have, and it's at least dozen of planes that Poland may transfer to Kyiv regime in upcoming several months. Also, dear friends, let me give you this news that Russian Foreign Ministry, for whatever reasons, Russian Foreign Ministry once again find it necessary to make it clear for everybody that Russia will regard their introduction of the Western forces into Ukraine as an intervention, and their appropriate measures will be taken. And let's go through details here. So Russia will consider the deployment of Western troops into Ukraine an intervention, Foreign Ministry stated. And then, quote, deployment of military units, military facilities, warehouses, and other Western infrastructure in Ukraine is unacceptable to us and will be classified as a foreign intervention that poses direct threat to Russian security. Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said in response to media questions received at the press conference summarizing Russian diplomatic activities in 2025. And yes, I don't know if this is actually necessary. Everybody who pays any attention to statements from Moscow knows perfectly well that Moscow's stand didn't really change. Russian position didn't change. Russian foreign minister, Russian president, everybody there among leadership were very clear that deployment of Western forces under whatever pretext, under whatever umbrella on the Kyiv-controlled territory is unacceptable, and these foreign troops will be designated as a legit targets for the Russian militaries. But because globalist control regimes in Europe, day in, day out, are pushing including countries, obviously, from the so-called coalition of willing, day in, day out are pushing for this narrative that they're going to deploy their troops as soon as possible. I guess these statements force Russian side to time and again reiterate same statements that no, we disagree with this, and if you do that, then you should know what consequences will be for that. And I think at this point, it is more important societies in the European countries to pay more attention to the statements from the Russian side, because if tomorrow or day after we wake up to the news that European countries from coalition of willing, let's say UK, France, or maybe some others, actually deploy their troops, at that point it might be too late for the societies of European countries to stop their insane leadership from committing this criminal step, right? Criminal action. At that point, they're not going to be in a position, societies in Europe, to scale back what had happened. And that means soon after they will start receiving in a body box their military personnel. That's how it's going to be. And it is really hard to understand why European society itself is this passive and does not demand from their governments to leave their armies out of this conflict. Maybe Western media never ever reported about statements of the Russian leadership, and maybe Western societies just have no freaking idea. Majority of public in the West just have no freaking idea that Russian leadership time and again said that you deploy your troops on the Q-controlled territory, we will obliterate them. Maybe European society thinks that, we're going to send our troops, they're going to have a good time there and they're chill and nothing going to happen to them, which is insane to think, man. But if they have no information, if Western media never reported about Russian position, then maybe societies there are actually too misinformed to have adequate understanding of the situation. Anyways, I think also this information worth our attention. Earlier today, during the first update, I reported that according to Swedish Navy claims, armed men have appeared on the ships of the Russia's shadow fleet. Some Western media outlets are already stating that all of these are employees of their well-known private military company, and this well-known private military company is, of course, Wagner PMC. Could be case, by the way, maybe these are Wagnerites, maybe these are musicians actually on these vessels, maybe not, maybe some other PMCs, but yes, news itself does not come to us as a surprise. After so many instances of harassment of the vessels, commercial vessels, one way or another linked to Russia, obviously Moscow had no options but to take some steps to secure commercial navigation and their commercial vessels that are linked to Russia. And yes, Wagner PMC members or PMC members of some or members of the other PMCs might actually introduce to these vessels, although it is also obvious that 3 or 5 men strong team not really going to be able to protect the vessel if this vessel is attacked by dozens and dozens of members of the special forces from the US, UK, or France, right? There's different capabilities there. 5 against dozens. It might not work. It might not work out well, but at least something is being done, right? And maybe presence of armed guard on vessels will deter these NATO member states, US, France, UK, and others, to hijack these Russia-linked vessels. maybe threat of actual close combat with their experienced Russian PMC members will be enough to deter them from hijacking, from trying to hijack more vessels. Who knows, man? Because these guys, man, these guys are well trained, well prepared. They will give a fight. We all know that, right? And who knows, man? Before they will be neutralized, they might take out 10, 15 enemy soldiers. And I don't think in the US or UK or France wants their like dozens of their special forces members being eliminated on some vessel. So this might actually work as a deterrent. Maybe. Also, dear friends, today a number of media outlets reported that Russian assault units from Vostok Group of Forces liberated Pridorozhne settlement in Zaporozhye region. This is eastern flank of Zaporozhye region, and let me show you on the map, dear friends, location of this settlement. Let's update the map. I'm checking right now. Only 14 members, by the way, are online on Rumble, and only 71 members on YouTube. So, dear friends, I don't know. I mean, numbers are not there, isn't it? I'm very grateful to all of you for your time and attention. But idea behind these late streams was that this, I'd be able to reach wider community, right? Which is clearly not the case. At least for now, it's already like 37 minutes, and well, numbers are not here, so I think this would not work. Michael Kennedy is commenting now. Many won't have got notifications. This is also true, of course, but what can I do with the algorithm? I mean, algorithm is not friendly, isn't it? My channels are in shadow ban, and what can I do, man? I mean, really, I just cannot do much. Nothing actually. So, and it is exhausting. I mean, if this actually worked, and if I was able to reach wider audience, okay, I would continue this way. But yes, Nidish is commenting that you cannot expect much change in a single day. Yes, I mean, that's why I said let's see whole week, how it will work out for a whole week. And therefore, I will try to do this tomorrow, day after tomorrow, until Thursday, by the way, maybe Friday too. But unfortunately, I'm skeptical because algorithm, man, what I'm going to do with the algorithm? Members of our own community, and there is on YouTube 37,000 members, by the way, 37 plus. And there may be only 100 people getting notifications. And from these 100, maybe just, I don't know, 50 people have time to join the stream. So what I'm going to do? On Rumble, same stuff, right? Although community is much smaller on Rumble, of course, it's 10 times smaller, actually. 3,500 members there. Anyways, dear friends, just an observation. Truly grateful for your time. Don't get me wrong, please. I'm truly grateful for your attention and the time. And I hope the program is itself interesting. And well, let's continue. Dear friends. This is the settlement that I mentioned, Pridorozhne, which is liberated now by Russian forces. Small villager. As you can see, dear friends, I can make it bigger. So yes, small villager, but important one right now. It's located on the northern side of Gulyay Pole. And clearly, we have more and more indicators that most likely Russian troops will conduct a pincer offensive from eastern side and western flank of Zaporozhye region to encircle Orekhov city It seems like that, although I'm not military expert and my understanding might be wrong, but it does looks like that's what is going to happen. And while map is open, let me give you some more updates, dear friends. Russian armed forces members of the Russian military were spotted in Novopodgorny settlement. This is Dnipropetrovsk region, I believe, right? Yes, it is. When it comes to Konstantinovka direction, there were no reports about some groundbreaking changes in the past 12 to 24 hours. Russian troops are trying to improve their positions along the lines. Also, Russian troops conducting clearing operation now in Nikiforovka settlement. This is a northern part of DPR, or we can say Slavyansk direction already, because if you take a look at the map, dear friends, this is Slavyansk, this is Kramatorsk, two major strongholds of the Kiev regime, and well, this is Nikiforovka settlement. And take a look at the map, by the way. From Nikiforovka to Slavyansk, for example, there is literally very few settlements, and there is no much defensive lines. In direction of Konstantinovka, also not that many settlements, by the way. It's more urbanized, but still not that many settlements. So once Russian troops will breach these third defense lines that are currently battles are taking place, then maybe we should expect at that point quite rapid advance of Russian militaries towards Slavyansk and Kramatorsk. And I reminded you, friends, that Russian troops are advancing towards Slavyansk from their northern side too, northeastern side, from Seversk direction and from Liman direction. Liman itself is, not yet in operational encirclement necessarily, but well, Russian troops are getting closer and closer from northern western side, and once they will reach outskirts of the city, at that point, probably we can argue that Liman is in encirclement, and after Liman, obviously, Russian troops will move towards Slavyansk from northern side too. So interesting developments. This is a new direction that many members of our community might not be familiar yet, but soon we're gonna receive more and more news, obviously, about Slavyansk Kramatorsk direction. Also, dear friends, let me give you information about advance of the Russian armed forces in the Sumy region, in the borderline area. Russian troops allegedly crossed the border and are moving towards Miropolye settlement on the border between Sumy region and the Russian Federation. And I guess in next, maybe even before end of this week, we will receive reports about Alexandria settlement and Miropolye settlement being either disputed or even liberated by Russian forces. Direction of attack is definitely here in Miropolye, Alexandria area. So soon soon we might see another buffer zone being created on the border there, I guess. So that's about it for a short summary, I guess. Let's continue with some other news. Well, RT is reporting that Epstein pitched many opportunities in the post-coup d'etat Ukraine to Rothschild access, which is quite interesting, isn't it? Which is quite interesting. Rothschilds, by the way, are of course financiers of the European aristocracies for centuries now, right? Rothschilds are founded, basically, some might argue, banking system in Europe. Some might dispute this, but Rothschilds clearly play a big role in the creation of a modern banking system, one of the most powerful clans in this world. And because they are financiers of European aristocracies, not just in UK, but all over the Europe, by the way. Well, they are then financiers of their globalists too, right? Because the European aristocracy, European ruling class is a basement, it's a driving force of the globalism, right? When European empires crashed down, local aristocracies made decision that if they cannot control the world through military means, due to lack of resources, well, they will control world through other means, through other tools. One of which is financial institutions, and unfortunately they succeed in that big time, right? And Rothschilds did help them too to achieve this dominance in this world, right? In terms of financial and the banking systems. And so, yes, Rothschild clan is definitely something that we should pay attention to, and their actions. And they're not surprisingly, they were, seems like they were engaged in this whole Ukrainian story, right? And they are still engaged, I believe, to nowadays, because yet again they are part of globalists, these Rothschilds, right? So let me give you some details of this report. Convinced U.S. sex offender Jeffrey Epstein discussed their potential business opportunities in Ukraine following 2014 Western-backed coup d'etat in Kiev. New released documents show. He discussed their matter with their Ariane de Rothschild, head of the Swiss private banking firm Edmond de Rothschild Group. And as you know, dear friends, the Rothschilds infiltrated whole all over the place, right? So in this particular case, this person, Ariane de Rothschild, is the head of a Swiss wing of this clan, Swiss private banking firm Edmond Rothschild Group. Reminder that last week, U.S. Department of Justice released its additional batch of Epstein list related files. Among them is a March 2014 email exchange in which the Rothschild said she wanted to discuss Ukraine in an upcoming meeting. Epstein replied, stated, Ukraine upheaval should provide many opportunities, many. Earlier document releases highlighted business ties between the two. In 2015, after the Rothschild became CEO of the group, she negotiated $25 million contract with Epstein for risk analysis and the application and use of certain algorithms for the bank. That means she paid Epstein for access, right? For access to blackmail whoever is needed to be blackmailed, and so on and so on. And Epstein and all this criminal gang related to Mossad was obviously one of the biggest blackmailers, if I might say, of this world. They had dirt on almost everybody in Western elites and outside of Western elites too. And who knows how many such operations still are ongoing, led by Mossad or whichever secret service. So yet another indicator, by the way, this report that globalists were in this, globalists including Rothschilds were in this Ukrainian story from the beginning. RIA Novosti is also reporting that, there is some opposition voices in Europe that I mentioned this morning during the update in regards to this latest calls in Germany, for example, in Sweden and elsewhere, to become nuclear states. And Germany, for example, has a latent nuclear deterrence, or if Berlin will decide that they're going to build nuclear weapons, they are in a position to do so. They know, they have know-how, they know technology, they have everything, right? Including nuclear materials themselves. After all, just recently, Germany banned nuclear power plants. Before that, for decades, those nuclear power plants were operating, and a great deal of, for example, plutonium were generated. And plutonium is a side product, by the way, byproduct of the operational reactor on the power station, right? And many other things, obviously. And well, I reported earlier today that Finnish Freedom Alliance Party member, Amanda Memmer, was critical of these statements from Germany, for example, about nuclear weapons and so on. And Russian Foreign Ministry reacted on this latest activity on the part of globalists and globalist control regimes in Europe. It's not just Berlin, not just it's not just Sweden, but also Brussels, by the way, EU bureaucracy that is talking about transforming EU into a nuclear capable, nuclear armed organization, which is insane, isn't it? Insanity. If Germany, at least a state, right? Sweden is a state, and EU is not a state. It pretends to be one, but in reality, on paper at least, it's an organization. But they have lost touch with reality so much so that they don't really care now, right? These Brussels bureaucrats and their globalist masters, they don't care. They want to be nuclear armed. They want to be nuclear armed, by the way, right? And right now, by the way, there was donation through PayPal from Patrick. Thank you very much, Patrick, for $10 donation through PayPal. And comment from Patrick is, I wish I could send more. We are going through some trying times in the United States. Thank you very much, Patrick. It's a great deal of support from you. So truly grateful. I appreciate. Thank you very much for your support, for your attention, for your kind words there. Thank you, and hopefully these hard times will end soon. To you, to your loved ones, friends, to all the U.S. citizens, man, ordinary citizens that have done nothing wrong, man, and are forced to basically face the consequences of their policies of these crazy administrations. And so to continue with the news, Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs responded on this matter on the West wanting its own nukes, Europe basically. There is a real threat of nuclear proliferation within a collective West, which is not known for its peace-loving nature, Foreign Ministry said there, and obviously Foreign Ministry is indicating that this is dangerous, right? This is dangerous. If every other country in Europe now would start building or working on nuclear weapons, then that will lead to disaster for sure. I mean, I don't think anybody has any doubts about it. And one should keep in mind, dear friends, that today maybe Western ruling class globalists did manage to focus hatred in Europe towards Russia. But tomorrow things might change because these European countries, by the way, they hate each other, probably in some cases more than they hate Russia. So one day, if they will go ahead and actually build nukes, Germany, Sweden, Norway will do the same, I guess. Spain, by the way, used to be empire, so Spanish leadership will say, I mean, for God's sake, man, everybody has nukes. Let's build nukes for ourselves too. Then Portugal might say, you know what? I mean, Spain, man, is becoming nuclear. Our neighbors, no, we need some deterrence. We have to go nuclear now. Italy, by the way, why should Italians will say, why should not I or we be a nuclear nation too? So if this process will go on, if Pandora's box is open on this matter, then I mean, who's gonna stop European countries to become nuclear one after another? And it's gonna be total mess, isn't it? Total mess. Yet again, I don't know. This is topic first and foremost for societies in Europe to think about. I mean, do they really want some additional threats for themselves and for the next generations or not? And if not, then they should do something about it, because madness among Western elites is intensifying, isn't it? Literally on daily basis, by the way. Maybe some said that there is some deficit of sedatives or something in Europe. I don't know, but literally on daily basis, you listen to statements of their elites there, and I mean, question comes up. First question comes up is, I mean, from which freaking medical institution these people came from, right? What is wrong with European psychiatrists? Is there anybody left to treat these people that are formally at least in charge of European countries? But anyways, man, I'm not sure European people, I mean, societies in Europe even know that these talks are happening, man. I'm not really sure, because how would they know if they are not paying attention to alternative media and only receiving information from, MSN? How would they know, man, anything, actually? They wouldn't. Of course, Iran, by the way, many sources are saying that the US once again allegedly postponed attack on Iran. And now our Americans are engaged in nuclear talks again with Iranian side. According to some reports, Supreme Leader of Iran appointed a working group of negotiators that will be engaged with the Americans. And their whole this story is 100% resembles with pre-attack time just a couple of months ago, isn't it? Very before Israel and US launched attacks on Israel, there was a negotiations between Iranian delegations and American delegations, isn't it? And sixth round was planned. Delegations, I believe, even arrived there in Oman for talks, and Israel and US launched strikes on Iran exactly at that time. And now when I see reports that there is some negotiations in place, I definitely, only thing comes to my mind personally is that US is not ready yet. US military, Pentagon is not ready yet to launch an attack, right? And they are using all sorts of means for deception and to gain some more time, right? To prepare better. That's all it is, I think, right? US Western Israeli attack on Iran, I think, is imminent. It's only a matter of time, unfortunately. Only way this can be avoided, Western Israeli attack on Iran can be avoided, and their potential regional war there, potential full-scale destabilization of the Middle East with their navigation be shut down in the Persian Gulf and Hormuz Strait, is if Moscow and Beijing, New Delhi, желательно, right? If New Delhi will be also a part of this. If these capitals will make it clear for the Western ruling class that stability, regional stability in the Middle East is extremely important for the safety and security of our countries, right? And we will never allow we cannot allow Western world to destabilize the region. And the attack on Iran will be seen as an attack on our countries, Russia, China, India. And there will be retaliation. If Moscow, Beijing, New Delhi, or even if Moscow alone, by the way, will make such a point, I think this might work and deter Western ruling class from provoking a regional war on ethnic and sectarian lines, including inside Iran, by the way. This might deter Western ruling class, strong stand of Moscow. Of course, if Moscow is not alone and Beijing and New Delhi are there, this will be even stronger position, stronger deterrence, but at least for now, we don't really have indicators that either Moscow, either Beijing, or New Delhi, or any other capital, by the way, intends to make such a stand. So therefore, attack on Iran and full-scale destabilization of the Middle East, or either subsequent shutdown of the navigation in the Persian Gulf seems to be inevitable. And meanwhile, US is preparing, and reports are from Wall Street Journal, for example, that US is deploying additional air defense systems, and many other media outlets are reporting about deployment of more and more these additional assets, military assets towards the region, long-range means of delivery, first of all. To continue, dear friends, Politico reported that there is some fight for EU competitiveness, and Politico is mocking Europe, kind of make it seem to be extremely vulnerable and weaker. And let me give you some details on that. European Union, fearing a complete loss of influence in the Arctic, is offering Greenland 150 million euros in an attempt to keep it in its orbit, aiming aggressive US claims. The panicked financial measure expresses Brussels' inability to pursue an independent geopolitical strategy and its willingness to use colonial methods to maintain control. And yet again, Politico is mocking Europe, and they have a point. Europe is definitely quite fragile. There is anything but united, really, and very weak, actually, for many reasons. And this step that they are sending 150 million, what they want to buy loyalty of Greenlanders. This is insult for Greenlanders, by the way, that make it clear that even if they will seek independence, they would prefer to stay independent but not to join US, right? This is insult for the Greenlanders, but that's what Europeans do, man. They cannot get rid of these manners, right? This way of doing business that they have from imperial times, right? Oh, they will send some money there. They will corrupt some local officials, and that's gonna work. It used to work in the past, but nowadays situation is a bit different. At least because US can send 300 million, and if that wouldn't be enough, US might send another billion on top of that, 10 billion if necessary, 20 billion, 50 billion, by the way. Right? US can do this. Can Europe do the same? No. Europe cannot compete with US. It is what it is, and this leverage that US has over Europe is only increasing. By the way, because if before Western ruling class or European ruling class decided that they're gonna go with the war against Russia and they're going to destroy relationships with Russia and cut off any cooperation with Russia, including in the energy sector. Before all of that, at least Europeans had the opportunity to have a stable and relatively cheap energy supplies, right? That was the basically keystone of their European economies, right? But European elites, I guess, under their orders of, in many ways, under the orders of Washington, destroyed the relationships with Russia. They cut off only lifeline that they had, right? And now US leverage over Europe is even greater, because reports are that in a couple of years from now, by the way, at least 50% of all the gas, for example, in Europe will come from US. Can you imagine the level of dependence that is for European economies on the US, which is, I mean, much more expensive gas, by the way. It's liquefied gas, right? So yes, Politico is on point there. Politico is on point. Europe is, very weak, and to survive, there have to be a revolution or something like that, man. People have to wake up, because we cannot expect adequacy from current rulers of Europe, right? I mean, we just cannot expect adequacy from them. And to make actual changes, you have to change political system. You have to change all those so-called elites there, right? With adequate, normal people. And this can be done only with revolution. Only with revolution, by the way, right? That's how things work, man. And is there any indicators right now that European societies are willing to go for a revolution? Not really. People are not happy, yes. People are not happy with what is going on in Europe, but are they willing to act? That's a whole different story, and I think they are not yet, at least. Also, dear friends, there is I reported earlier that UN is experiencing some financial trouble, United Nations, and there was a report that UN might actually even cut off on some programs, and even shut down its headquarters in New York. And rumors began straight away that, well, headquarters might be moved here and there and elsewhere. And these rumors reached White House, I guess, and Trump commented on that and said that he is against relocating UN headquarters from the New Yorker. I can give you a quote. I don't think it's appropriate. The UN is not leaving New York, and it's not leaving the United States, because the UN has tremendous potential. He said to Politico, and I don't know about potential of the UN, but UN headquarters should be moved elsewhere long ago, actually, because US did weaponize UN in many ways, including with their, disrupting the work of the UN when they want to, while not issuing visas for delegations from numerous countries, including Russia, by the way, right? So US failed to host the UN, by the way. US failed to host UN and provide all the necessary infrastructure for UN member states to be present there in UN and to have an opportunity to work. And therefore, it makes all the sense if UN headquarters will be moved from not just New York, but from US, generally speaking, right? US failed to host this organization. And I think discussion has to be on a serious level about it. Earlier today, in first update, it's not today, it's yesterday, by the way. Today just began, right? Hour ago. In my previous live stream, I said that, well, I wouldn't be against if UN headquarters will end up in some of the Russian cities, not in Moscow there, we don't need that, but somewhere in Russia, There is many places that can host UN and provide all the necessary infrastructure, but maybe other countries too, right? Other countries. US clearly failed to host UN and to provide necessary infrastructure. So topic should be discussed actually, right? US did not deserve to hosting UN, even if UN is a joke now, by the way, right? And you know why UN is joke? Maybe because our headquarters was in New York, and UN was used and abused by US and other Western countries. So if UN headquarters is actually somewhere else, maybe UN would not. UN will become actually more useless organization, more useful. Sorry, more useful organization. It cannot become any more useless than it is right now, because no one cares about UN, period. Trump also made a claim that India and US reach a trade deal, which I don't think is true. But anyways, this evening, that's the reports that media is sharing. India and US have agreed to a trade deal. President Donald Trump said in a social media post on Monday. He wrote about it on True Social. In a post on True Social, Trump said he had spoken with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and later agreed to stop buying Russian. And allegedly, Modi agreed to stop buying Russian oil and to buy much more from the United States and potentially Venezuela. He added that this would end the Ukraine conflict. Dear. I'm not even going to comment on this, man. And let's continue. Out of friendship and respect for Prime Minister Modi, and as per his request, effective immediately, we agreed to a trade deal between the United States and India. Whereby the United States will change reciprocal tariffs, lowering it from 25 to 18%. Trump said they will likewise move forward to reduce their tariff and their non-tariff barriers against the United States to zero. That's what Trump said, by the way, and I don't even know what to believe. If anything that he says is true, I don't know. Maybe it is, maybe not, by the way. Maybe he's exaggerating something. We will find out. We will find out in upcoming days. But if Trump actually thinks that if India stops buying Russian oil, but Russia will get so weak that US will dictate terms to Moscow, well, he is mistaken. He is mistaken big time. And a few more news, dear friends. Interesting ones, I think. Interesting ones. And one of these news is that, well, let me just make this little smaller, this window. And one report is that US Secretary of War announced a claim to space dominance. Militarization of space and it has begun, by the way, basically. So US Secretary of War Pat Hegseth stated that American military must control space. We have to dominate the absolute high ground. We all know this. Every Marine knows this. However, whoever controls their high ground controls their fight. Hegseth said at the Cape Canaveral Air Force Station in Florida. The head of Pentagon is traveling across the United States on their Arsenal of Peace tour, speaking at various defense industries. Okay, US wants to dominate space. Let's see how successful they're gonna be in that. My personal take is that at least in space, humanity should manage to cooperate, right? At least in space, by the way, we should not fight each other because space when you look at their skies, man, might look so peaceful and so beautiful and nice, but in reality, by the way, space is an extremely dangerous place, right? And who knows, maybe sometime in the future, in 100 years from now, or 200 years from now, or 500 years from now, humanity will face some even potential invasion from some other civilizations that are out there, right? And the unity of humanity in space explorations will be helpful for sure to be ready as much as possible to defend our home planet. So I don't know what the hell is wrong with this person, Pet Hexed, but he's clearly not thinking straight, man. He's too primitive, right? He's too freaking primitive, man. That's all it is. And when it comes to space itself and there are probabilities that, well, there might be some civilizations out there, some peaceful, some not, I think chances are that 99% this is the case, because I find it extremely difficult to believe that in this enormous, unimaginably enormous universe, it's only on this planet, only life exists and intelligence life exists. Come on, man. There must be thousands, potentially tens of thousands of other worlds, right? With life and with intelligence life. And on this matter, by the way, on this very matter, I want to share with you this report from RIA Novosti, which is quite fascinating stuff, fascinating one. Mysterious object has reappeared in a photo of the sun. And right now you can see, let me make it bigger, by the way, on the screen. Here, I mean, you can see this mysterious object that looks like I don't know, man, like a massive, enormous spacecraft with a wide wings or wide body or something like that. I see this news, by the way, right before I launched this live stream, so therefore I had no time to read it completely. I see headlines and first quote in the news, and I decided, you know what, let's share this news straight after Hexed statements about space dominance and stuff. And let me give you some details now. So, mysterious bird-like object has reappeared in a solar image. The Solar Astronomy Laboratory of the Space Research Institute of the Russian Academy of Science reported on Monday. And I give you a quote now. Hello, long time no see. There is still some speculations that this is a galactic particle. The laboratory's Telegram channel stated, this is how the scientists commented on the photograph taken by their LASCO telescope at 6:12 p.m. At 6 p.m. basically Moscow time yesterday evening. A similar photo appeared last May. A mysterious bird-like optical object more than 10 times larger than Earth was spotted above the sun. Images like this, capturing structures with their plasma trails, are considered extremely rare. And well, I don't know what you will say, by the way, about this image. Interesting, at least, isn't it? Interesting. I don't think it's a plasma because it's too concentrated for that. It's something, isn't it? If it's not a damage on a camera or lenses of the telescope, and it is not, because otherwise scientists would not share this photo. If this is actual photo, by the way, then what is that? I don't know. Really. But interesting. stranger silhouette, of course, also. But yet again, in space, by the way, you can build literally any shape of spacecraft with any shape, right? It makes not much difference, really. Uh, so, yes, something interesting, isn't it? While Pet Hexed is dreaming about domination of space, well, there must be some civilizations out there that already are dominating, right? And possibly have no freaking idea about dreams of Hexed. Anyways, I wanted to end this new segment on this news, dear friends. Hopefully, segment was informative and interesting. Let me say thank once again to Patrick for $10 donation through PayPal. Anna did not send me any more screenshots, so I guess there was no donations, no comments through other support platforms to react on. So therefore, if I may, I will end the stream on that. Well, for the first day of this experiment of late stream, I don't know. I would not formulate their opinion yet. Let's see how all week goes, and if these late streams will be in demand, if it will allow me to further enhance this project, great. I'll try my best to maintain schedule like this. One update in the first half of the day, another one in the second half. And so, yes, we will see. Thank you very much. Thank you very much to you all, dear friends, for your time, for your attention and support. Have a wonderful day and take care. See you next time.